Hey everybody, welcome to Real World with Julie. I'm Julie. If you haven't already, make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube channel and subscribing to our podcast on all streaming platforms. And make sure you also follow us on social media because we've got some cool stuff going on there. We are so glad to have you. And if I did this correctly, all these links should be below to make it easier for you. Like I said, we're so glad to have you. Hope you enjoy. All right, everybody. Okay. Welcome to Real World with Julie. This episode, I'm going to tell you, I have many stories, but this episode, I'm going to tell you about 2 times that stood out when I went to a haunted trail or scary place, whatever. Okay, so I have notes on my computer so I don't get off topic. So first, we're going to start off with a time, and I'm going to do my best not to use names. This is a time a couple years ago where I went by myself. Let me start all of this off with the fact that I'm not actually scared of any of this. I go because I think it's fun. Okay. So this night, this was probably, it's been a long time. But anyway, it was the very last night that this haunted attraction was open. And so they had what they called like a blackout night or whatever, where all of the lights in the attraction, like going down the trail and stuff, are going to be off. And they gave you 1 glow stick for the group. And so I remember realizing that it was the last night and it was getting close to 11 o'clock. And I think I could have gotten to the attraction by like 11:05. But I wanted to make sure, like, it was far enough away that I didn't want to just drive and not get there. So I called the place and I asked them if I needed to buy a ticket by 11 o'clock or be there physically by 11 o'clock. And they said ticket, but you need to, and I said, well, I'll be there by 11:05. And my friend was going to go with me, but it was it was a lot. It was a very last minute decision. Anyway, so I went by myself. I get there and realize that as I'm like walking down towards the thing, the last group of people who have gone through it are leaving. So I was literally the only one there, other than the workers. So they quickly offered me, I hopped on the back of a 4-wheeler and they got me down there faster. So I get to where the guy's taking tickets and he's dressed up kind of like a magician or like a circus ringleader or something. And so he takes my ticket and gives me my light, okay? This light was literally a glow stick and a Gatorade bottle full of water. So it didn't glow very much. And if you know me, you know that I am so clumsy, it's insane. I do not drink, and yet I'm still clumsier than, I don't even know how to explain it, sober as a duck, right? So I am literally sober as a duck and clumsy. So I asked them, I was like, can I get another one? Because I'm so clumsy, like they had already said, like, try to hurry through. And I was like, y'all, I'm so clumsy. Like, at least give me another light. That might help. And so I think that, I know that they thought me asking for another light was me being scared. And I tried to tell them. So anyway, I start going through and I'm like, all right, y'all told me to hurry, but whatever. So I start walking through. Next thing you know, there's someone with 2 glow water bottles. And I was like, oh my gosh, they heard me like that. They know that I'm not scared. I'm just clumsy. No, they had sent in the ticket taker, who I think was supposed to be a circus ringleader or, like I said, a magician, a top hat, whatever. And so he gets to me and I was like, oh, thank you so much. He was like, no, they also sent me in with you. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, so you know it? He was like, no, I've never been through. And I was like, why? He said, because I'm scared to death. So they sent me a guy. Yes, he had 2 extra water bottles, but you couldn't see anything anyway. He's scared. So here I am kind of having to take the lead, but really he should be because I'm going slow. Anyway, so we start going through the thing. Okay, let me make sure that I'm not missing anything. Okay, so yes, we're going through the thing. It's a very weird situation because I kind of need to be following his lead because I'm clumsy. But yet I'm having to leave because he's literally scared to death. So we get to a part and they hand us these, they're like paper, like 3D glasses. And they were like, you'll use these later. So we go through a section, and I think it was clowns, and they had all this dope stuff that the 3D glasses made look even cooler. There was like black lights and stuff. It was really cool. And that was the one part that had lights, where they're black lights. It kind of was like very confusing. But anyway, so we get to the end. We had finally made it. This guy, keep in mind, he was still scared to death. He didn't know if it was the end or not. And I was like, dude, I think it finally is the end. But at the very end, there was this very large clown that, was all distorted, supposed to be scary looking, had crazy, quote unquote, scary looking hair. And this guy was collecting the 3D glasses. And he had a box that literally said glasses, and it had a slit at the top. And he looked at us and he was like, glasses. And I looked at him and I'm like, you can say please. And he was like, glasses. And I was like, listen, honey, I was like, you can say please. I was like, you're not getting these glasses back until you say please. So he once again was like, glasses. And I was like, literally, y'all wanted me to hurry through this thing. I was like, I will stand here all night. If you want your glasses back, you're going to say please. I was like, that's just how I was raised. And he looks at me and he goes, he just stood there. I couldn't really tell what his face looked like because of the mask. But he was like, it was silence. He was like, glasses, please. And I was like, see, it wasn't that hard. And I was like, he was like, I said, now it's saying thank you too hard. And I think he knew that if he didn't say thank you, I was going to stand there. So he was like, thank you. I was like, oh, you're a sweet, mean clown. Anyway, so we go to leave, and homeboy who was with me was like pieced out. I don't know where he was, but there was a very, very steep hill that you had to like climb up to get back to your car. And I was like, can one of y'all help me so I don't fall? And they were like, yeah, thanks for coming. Like, have a good night and be safe. Like, we know that you've been drinking. I was like, they said, like, we know you've been drinking, so be really safe. There's usually cops out. And I was like, huh? No, I'm sober. Like, I don't drink. So, but thank you, though. I was like, I'm just clumsy. And they laughed again and were like, you don't have to lie to us. Like, it's okay. And I was like, no, like, I really am sober. And then the guy who was helping me walk, I was like, do y'all really think that he was like, well, I was like, do y'all really think that I've been drinking? And they were like, well, who else comes to a place all alone? And I was like, well, I tried to get my friend to come. And I was like, literally, I do. If you know me or anything, you know that I do not drink. I hate alcohol. It's actually a funny game to some people where you're like, Julie, you won't taste this in this, and I'll take it and I'll be anyway. So yes, that was haunted house story number 1. I went by myself the blackout night. They sent someone in with me. Then come to find out they thought I was drunk, but I was sober as a duck. But we made it out. I really did almost like break my ankle because there was one part where they had mattresses as the floor and you couldn't tell. Also, excuse if you can hear stuff in the background. We're still doing construction. But anyway, that's haunted house story number 1. Number 2, this was a different story. And this one might get told again when I have one of my friends here who was with me. Okay, so this was a haunted house that we had never been to. My friend and I are like haunted house junkies because we're not scared of them, but we love going to them to like kind of rate them, I guess. So we had never been to this one, and he looked this one up and was like, it's supposed to be good. Keep in mind that reviews are sometimes accurate and they're sometimes not. So he came to this thing where I was at for work, and spur of the moment decision, we decided we were going to go to this thing. Kind of the same story as the same situation as the last one, where we were going to have to rush to get there, and we were going to be there like right at the edge of closing. And so once again, we called the place and, explained to them that we were going to be there close to closing. And they said, okay, like as long as you're here by, if they were closing at like 10, we'll just say 10. So we get there, and the parking lot was like, you could tell that there was a big group of like teenagers that had just come out. And so they were like walking to their cars, but the parking lot was fairly empty. And we realized that we were getting there pretty close to, like, let's just say 10. So we were running to the ticket counter. And keep in mind, if you know me, I don't run. So like we were about to, because we had to drive a long way. So the lady who apparently was the owner was the one who parked us and told us where to go and said, like, yep, as long as you get there by let's just say 10, you're fine. I know, I'll find that out later. I'll tell you. So anyway, we get there, and they have these haunted places have now like beefed up their security. And there was like 3 police officers out there who wanted us, and like none of us vape, but they take away your vapes and like lighters, which keep in mind none of us had. But so then we get to the ticket counter, and I think it might have been like $25. I don't know, but we paid cash. And so we start going through it, and keep in mind, I might not always be like super, like, if you know me, whenever I go out to places, especially when I'm like bending, like they might be bending the rules for me, I'm super, super thankful. And so I'm thanking these people along the way, blah, blah, blah. So we start going through, I don't want to tell anybody like where we were, but we started going through, and this one was like almost like a walk kind of through the woods, anyway. So it was all fun and dandy. And then we get to this part, and it was Dawn's auto body shop or something, Dawn's garage. And there was a guy, I guess his name was Dawn, dressed up in character. And he was standing in the middle of the little, like the path where we had to walk. And I walked up to him. He was holding like an axe or something. And I walked up to him, and he didn't move. And he kind of just like looked, and I was like, this is not going to happen. Like, And so I told him, I was like, you can say, excuse me. Because then he tried to like walk past us. And I was like, you can say, excuse me. And he didn't say anything. And so we were just standing there. And I was like, literally, you can say, excuse me. And my friend kind of was standing there. And one of my friends was in front of me. And this guy, you could tell, like, it as weird as it sounds, like you can almost tell that this guy who is in character, like, I don't know, our eyes were locked, and it just really, like, my friend is the one who said this first. It's like you could tell that this guy somehow needed someone to care about him, and him not being a scary person. I don't know if that makes sense. Sorry, like I said, if you can hear that, we're still doing construction. But anyway, so next thing you know, I look kind of back, and through the woods, there's like 20 to 30 like ghostly looking scary people kind of like running towards us. And like I said, sorry if you can hear that in the background, but I thought this was just part of the attraction, but there was a guy leading the pack, and he was like a leprechaun, and he was like, y'all have to go. And I was like, huh? So then he was like, you can't just stand, you have to go. And I think that he thought that like there was an issue, when in reality we were just chilling then anyway, so we went, and I apologized to Don if I was getting on his nerves, and he literally was like, he shook his head and he was like, it's no big deal. But the leprechaun proceeded to follow us through the rest of the thing, which was a lot. We probably still had 3/4 of the way left, and he was really rushing us. And like I said about the haunted house before, is I can't be rushed. Like, I will fall down. I'm super, super clumsy. So let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, he was behind us, kind of hurrying us through. I personally already had an issue with that, because it was not I don't know why. It was like also keep in mind we were kind of in the woods without many lights, so it was actually very unsafe. And I even mentioned to him, like, hey, I can't, like I'm gonna break an ankle or something. And so then so I was already frustrated about this guy kind of like walking behind us. It was weird. So then we get to this one part, and he had fallen back a little bit, I guess, because we were about to go through a building. And I hear the guys who are supposed to be scary literally talking about if one of the girls had already left because he was supposed to give her a ride home. They didn't know that there were any more people in there. So then I was like, hey, we're joke, like, hey, we're still customers. And they were like, oh, grr, like, and so started being scared, well, attempted to be scary. And then we went through one place where all the lights were already off. Like, it wasn't like we were going through a dark place. It's like they had already shut down for the night and the lights were already off. So then once we get towards the leprechaun still is kind of, whatever. And when I'm in all dark, because the lights are off, like they've shut down, I'm very aware that, when you're going through a haunted house, there are places that are dark. No, the lights were off as if they were done for the night. So, I was pissed. I was pissed. And I had one of my friends already, well, both of my friends already knew. Like, when I get mad about something or upset, like, it is what it is. And so one of my friends was like, going through and like trying to make the best of it. Like, oh, look, this is pretty good. And my other friend was just like hold my hand, like getting me out of there. So anyway, so I get out of there. The first people I see were the 3 police officers because they still had the blue lights on the car that was right there. And I looked at them and I'm like, who's in charge here? Because I need to talk to whoever's in charge. And all 3 of them were like it wasn't me, kind of like Shaggy, like it wasn't me, like not like they were like, oh. And so they said, I was like, who do I need to talk to? So they said, go to the ticket counter. And so I went to the ticket counter and told them, I was like, listen, I was like, I don't know who I need to talk to, but we need our money back. And they were like, what happened? I said, well, first of all, you had a leprechaun who followed us out and was rushing us through, went on. I said, and you had 2 guys who weren't in character. I said, keep in mind, the only issue I have with anybody who was doing this is the leprechaun. I said, the 2 guys who were talking and didn't know we were in there, I said, that's no big deal. They just didn't know. They got back into character as soon as they knew. I said, plus the lights were completely out. Like, y'all had shut down while we were still in there. I said, however, all this is a safety issue. I said, however, I don't appreciate this leprechaun rushing us through. And they were like, so it was the leprechaun. I said, yes, it was the leprechaun. It's that guy coming up right here. And so they were like, let me get the owner on the phone. Like, we're so sorry. They couldn't get the owner on the phone. And I didn't really care if they could or if they couldn't. I said, we are getting our money back. So I think it ended up being $75. And we said, they couldn't get the owner on the phone. And they were like, okay, that's fine. We'll just have to make the decision ourselves. They gave us our money back. I said, thank you. And I said, I'm so sorry to have to say any of this. I said, but it's not safe. Like I said, we never should have been rushed through that. And they were like, and I was very clear on the fact that it wasn't anyone but the leprechaun because, I'm not trying to get a lot of these individuals, the thing is, it was a safety issue. And also, you're not going to rush me through something, but let me make sure that I didn't miss anything. But anyway, so the haunted house overall, I guess, would have been good, but I didn't get to enjoy most of it because of the experience. And I haven't been back. And I wonder if the leprechaun's still working there. They seem to be very, like, they made sure it was the leprechaun. And so I think the leprechaun got probably a stern talking to and might have gotten his Lucky Charms taken away. But overall, like I said, I'm not going to say the name of the place, but overall, they handled my being pissed off very well. But like I said, I don't want to, I don't ever want to, make a place lose business. But, the second place, it was a safety issue. Plus, I'm like, don't come up on me and try to rush me. You got the wrong one, So anyway, those are my 2 stories for today. My friend and I have plenty more to tell you, but it will be better when he's here. Once again, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast so you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you are following us on all of our social media, and we will see you next time. Thanks again. Hey, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. Once again, make sure you're subscribing to our YouTube and podcast platforms, and also following us on social media, because trust me, you don't want to miss a thing, because it's going to get good.